Hello everyone, this is Sarfraz from Aristotle Prep and we are looking at question 106 from the OG 13 critical reasoning chapter. So the question says exposure to certain chemicals commonly used in elementary schools as cleaners or pesticides causes allergic reactions in some children. Okay? Elementary school nurses in Renston report that the proportion of school children sent to them for treatment of allergic reactions to those chemicals has increased significantly over the past 10 years. So the proportion has increased. Therefore, either Renston school children have been exposed to greater quantities of the chemicals, which is why more children are going to the nurses, or they are more sensitive to them meaning the chemicals, than school children were 10 years ago. So it's basically concluding by giving you two explanations for why more children are now going to the nurses. One is maybe more children are getting exposed to more amount of the chemical. The other is maybe children have become more sensitive to the chemical. And we have to come up with an assumption in the argument. The assumption is there can't be a third reason. It's a simple causality question, I think. So it says the cause is these two. So the assumption is that there can't be a third cause. In one of the options that will say that will be the answer. So let's look at the options. And A says, the number of school nurses employed by Renston's elementary schools has not decreased over the past 10 years. So see, it doesn't say that each nurse is getting more students now. Number of nurses has got nothing to do with the argument because it says the proportion of students being sent to the nurses has gone up. Not that each nurse is getting more students, which could be the case if the number of nurses goes down. So A doesn't make any difference to the argument. B says, children who are allergic to the chemicals are no more likely than other children to have allergies to other substances absolutely outside the scope of the argument. C says, children who have allergic reactions to the chemicals are not more likely to be sent to a school nurse now than they were 10 years ago. That is the answer now. Because you see, it says, you are saying that either children are being exposed to greater quantities of the chemical or children have become more sensitive to the chemicals. There can be a third reason also that parents are now more careful or more sensitive, and whenever they see any child showing symptoms of this allergy, they immediately send the child to the nurse. So the number of children getting this particular allergic reaction may not have changed, but the number of children being sent to the nurses may have changed for that reason. So if that were to happen, then the argument would get weakened. So the assumption is that that is not the case, which is what C says. Children who have allergic reactions to the chemicals are not more likely to be sent to a school nurse now than 10 years ago. Because if they are more likely to be sent, then the argument immediately gets weakened, which is what happens if you negate or deny the assumption. So C, if you negate it, the argument gets weakened or falls apart. C has to be the assumption in the argument. Let's look at D and E also. D says, the chemicals are not commonly used as cleaners or pesticides in houses and apartment buildings in Renston. Why does this have to be assumed in the argument? The argument never says that the exposure has happened in schools only. It may have happened outside also for all you know. So D doesn't help you. E says, children attending elementary school do not make up a larger proportion of Renston's population now than they did 10 years ago. But see, the argument is talking about the proportion. So how many children were there then or are there now doesn't make any difference to that part of the argument, to that fact, the proportion, which is why they mentioned proportion in the argument in the first place. So C definitely is the answer to your question. The difficult question, I would give it a difficulty rating of 3.5 or a 4 on a scale of 5. Have a nice day.